Yep. Thank you, everyone. Thank you, everyone, for joining the session. Let me mute everybody. Yes. Hi, everyone. Good evening. Good afternoon. Thank you so much for joining the session. Today, our session, Salesforce Marketing Cloud SDKs. We would love to understand more about what are Salesforce Marketing Cloud SDKs and what are all the SDKs that supports by Marketing Cloud. And what are all the other platform SDK which can contribute by other community team members that we can leverage easily? And we can talk about a couple of use cases where we'll use Marketing Cloud SDKs, right? So myself, Anindra, I'm a Salesforce MVP, and I'm a Chief Technology Evangelist, an enterprise architect, working with many of the customers on Marketing Cloud and for other class clouds as well. I'm 37x certified as well, right? So I'm not sure how many of them using SDKs in your day-to-day lifetime, day-to-day projects. Just give me if anyone using Salesforce Marketing Cloud Platform SDKs. I'm not sure. From my experience, I think hardly 2 to 3% of global customers are using platform SDKs. But if there is any use case that you would love to talk about as well, I'm happy to unmute the participant, and then probably we can discuss on that as well, right? So when it comes to Salesforce Marketing Cloud Platform SDKs, so ideally SDK is nothing but a complete a kit, a development kit. So it provides all the reusable assets where we can use that assets, and then we can build the functionality and then serve to the customers in a whole new way. But when it comes to Marketing Cloud Platform SDKs, that provides a cross-functional framework around the SOAP and REST APIs. And this framework allows developers to integrate APIs using native language code libraries as well. The best of SDKs is, so the platform SDK use both SOAP and REST APIs to provide agnostic protocol interfaces and an automated token management. So when you look at our platform SDKs, as I said, it's a complete development kit for us, where we no need to rebuild all the APIs, where we need to rebuild the token management or write a code for a token authentication or anything. It just provides a complete agnostic protocol interfaces, and at the same time, it provides the automated token management as well. I can showcase that code how it look like, and that gives a lot of impression from a development standpoint, to the people who are really wanted to use these SDKs for their real-time use cases. So when it comes to Marketing Cloud Platform SDKs, so we have Marketing Cloud currently offers 6 platform SDKs, which is built on C#, Java, Node, PHP, Ruby on Rails, and a Python. And hope you're already aware of it. SFMC also provides SDKs for iOS and Android to use with mobile push. When you trying to build a push notifications inside Marketing Cloud, you require a Salesforce mobile SDK to connect with the mobile apps to perform registrations, and then you could leverage that for your one of the cross-channel personalization like mobile push. So when it comes to the support, the Salesforce Marketing Cloud SDKs, excluding the mobile push SDK and content builder SDK. So these 2 SDKs are officially supporting by Salesforce Marketing Cloud. The rest all the SDKs, the C#, Java, Node, and all. So these are all supported by our internal community, where a lot of technology enthusiast is going to be is completely working on this kind of a documentation, the complete SDK source codes, the samples, and documentation are publicly available on GitHub, and you could leverage this. You could just leverage the entire SDK. You can fork it to your internal libraries, and then you can modify the entire code as per your business needs. And the Marketing Cloud technology folks have been inviting everyone to participate in the community, to collaborate with them on GitHub, and they can submit the pull request to help improve the source code and samples as well. So if you look at one of the SDK, look at the C# SDK. So if you look at the codes which are available in, I'm not sure how many of them using the Salesforce Marketing Cloud GitHub. So this is a placeholder where you can go and then play around. I'll talk about what it help you out for your development of Marketing Cloud platform. I'm gonna put that into a chart. So this is one of the GitHub libraries where our official developer.salesforce.com team has been built for all of us, where we can leverage different frameworks available, different SDKs available for us to leverage, because every enterprise platform, irrespective of the Sales Cloud, Service Cloud, or any other clouds. So the development team, the product team, is the way the product has to build in such a way that it should be supported by different platforms, which is nothing but the different technologies. Like, so if you are a C# developer where you would love to integrate Marketing Cloud and then produce some of the content for marketers, because your Marketing Cloud team sitting in somewhere, and they really don't know how you can access the Marketing Cloud assets, like content assets, or create a data extension from other systems and all the stuff. So a C# developer can leverage this code to connect Marketing Cloud with the third parties and then do a lot of operations as well. I'll talk about what are all the supporting features which comes with the platform SDKs. At the same time, a developer called Java developer who doesn't know about Marketing Cloud, but he knows about SDKs, how to build and everything. And this Java developer can help you to talk with Marketing Cloud and then bring the relevant Marketing Cloud features back to any other third party. So like the same thing for Node developer, PHP developer, Ruby on Rails developer, Python developer. So these are all the SDKs where Marketing Cloud development team, the Salesforce Marketing Cloud development team, along with the different contributors across the world, where they have participated in a GitHub library, something like this, and then they're going to build a lot of repositories for us, like Ruby on Rails and React Native. And you could see, if you want to build a custom journey builder activity as well, you can see the respective GitHub available, the code available, where you can fork it, and then you could leverage it as per your use case as well. The Node and the PHP, and you could see some of the data cloud insights also. You could be able to leverage it from this code, and Cardova plugins, Node authentication, so everything, like you see a list of all SDKs which are supporting natively from Marketing Cloud to other platforms where you can use it, and then it could serve the business purpose that what your marketers have been looking for. I think someone posted a question. Sorry, we are not able to see the GitHub page. Okay. My bad. Let me share my entire screen. Oh, you haven't seen the page of the presentation as well initially, then when I've shared Akash? Hope you see the GitHub page.
Yeah, we were able to see the presentation deck, not the GitHub. Yeah, we are able to see GitHub now.
Okay, I think initially I would just shared the blank page. Sorry for that. Thank you. Yeah, so this is a placeholder where as I've told, this has been a global repository where a lot of people has been contributed for producing a lot of repositories, where we can leverage. These are all the SDKs, and then we could fork it, and then we could leverage it for our normal day-to-day project basis based on the customer requirements. So we look at, right, like the Marketing Cloud, Fuel SDK for Ruby on Rails, and this contains everything actually, not only for the platform SDKs, although it provides you a lot of insights about, you see the data cloud calculated insights and Cardova plugins, and the Node SDK and the C# SDKs, and everything like, so it provides you multiple things where you can go and then, try to, if you can open one of the SDK, and then there's a code is available where you can use this, copy of this GitHub code, which you can fork it to your internal GitHub account, and then it can be leveraged, and then you can reuse the code, and you can add your additional code, everything apart from according to the customer requirements. So like this, all this GitHub codes available inside Marketing Cloud GitHub account. And when it comes to the one which I've stated, so in typical Marketing Cloud, so you have a supported SDKs. If you look at the Marketing Cloud, so you have two, one with mobile push SDKs, the other one with the content builder SDK. Content builder SDK. So if you look at this, this is the only official documentation or the official products that are supporting my Marketing Cloud. One with mobile push SDKs, where you leverage in your mobile push registration for Android and iOS. So this is our next topic where Adar is going to talk about it. But today I would love to talk about the content builder SDK. And you asked me a question saying that, so funny, there are other SDKs available. If you look at our documentation, the Salesforce Marketing Cloud platform SDKs documentation, look at the platform SDK for PHP, C#, and Java, Python, Ruby on Rails. And you could see the functionality that he asked me a question. So what else we can do it? So on a typical basis, let's take an example of Java developer. All right. So this is an official documentation which is available and supporting by Salesforce Marketing Cloud support. If you have any queries on these two SDKs, where you can reach out to Salesforce support. You could log a Salesforce support ticket, and then they could support you for clarifying any of the questions. But when it coming to all the other libraries, the libraries which are we talking about, like PHP, Java, C#, and Python, and Ruby. So all these are the technologies which is which these are all SDKs were implemented by our platform engineers, which is nothing but the global community team members, where all these we can't get a support. So ideally, you can come to the respective GitHub and probably can pose a question. You can pose a question, something like you can add some comments over here. Once you log in, or you can add a comments over here. You can see a lot of contributors have been contributed on this Python SDK. So like this is something where you will not get any support from Salesforce. All this is something that you can go and then open to the GitHub accounts for a relevant SDK, and then you can post your question over there. Okay, so let's talk about one use case. Let's talk about one SDK that what supports before I move to the demo of Content Builder, which is a officially supported Salesforce Marketing Cloud product. But let's talk about what are all the typical use cases where we use a SDKs for more different platforms. All right. Let me see if anyone has any questions. All right. Let's take an example. I'm a Java developer. All right. So I'm a typical Java developer, which I really don't know about. A Marketing Cloud. And I really don't know about the platform that what Marketing Cloud supports, because I'm just an open framework developer. But initially, my marketing team comes and they reach out to me saying that we had a Marketing Cloud org, and we're building a product. We're building a product. So that product is building a product inside a Marketing Cloud. We'd love to build a product, a kind of an interface that can serve our marketers, because this is a product that we're building for campaign orchestration, nothing but the campaign designer module. Okay, it's taken about a campaign design module. In our Marketing Cloud, our campaign designer model is not that great. I mean, we can't able to do much things in the campaign, because we'll just define the campaign name for every channel, like a push, SMS, and WhatsApp, email, all this. We just have a flexibility that we can just define the campaign. But unless it's not like other Oracle responses, right? Because Oracle responses, and how many of them know the Oracle responses is there's one more marketing cloud platform, which is supported by Oracle. So if you look at the Oracle campaign designer tool, so it is more, comprehensive. Only this part of information, I mean, how they design the campaign management tool. So if you look at their campaign design, they'll see what are all the audiences. You can see the purpose of the campaign, the folder, the profile, the brand, targeting, whom you're targeting for a couple of additional settings. So it's all a proper step-by-step kind of a designer tool for each and every campaign. So Oracle Responses will, kind of a tool where it'll give you the step-by-step sequential steps how to create a campaign. So it's actually nice. Actually, I really love it. So let's assume, so we don't have that tool inside our Marketing Cloud, but we would love to develop that tool inside Marketing Cloud. All right. So if you look at if you start designing similar kind of a tool in Marketing Cloud, so nothing but a person, let's assume we're building this entire tool inside AWS, and then we're hosting that entire tool inside AWS. All right. But in order to retrieve the data, in order to create a data, we need a Marketing Cloud developer or any other developer or a SDK developer. And then that developer can code, and then the developer can talk to Marketing Cloud to bring all the relevant assets, which is nothing but I would love to know my list of the campaigns, create a campaign API, and create a data extension API, create a delete a DE. So there are some other, a lot of functionalities available that supports the platform SDK. I'll showcase that. Let's talk about a use case. So I would love to design a campaign designer module, which is nothing but a person of marketers comes to me. So I have an option where I can go and then enter my campaign name. So I have a multiple option. This is a simple page. This is a simple page where we are targeting to build a campaign name and target audience, and target channels. With the same channel, we are and we can see the content assets location, primary countries, list of the countries you are targeting for. List of the countries targeting for. And on top of it, I have a form that I would love to design for keeping one placeholder so that my campaign managers are really feel happy not to go multiple forms and then fill all the details. And on top of it, I'll give an option to submit for approval. So once I submit for approval, this will go to my next level manager to look at all the assets and everything, content and everything, and then they'll try to approve it. So once it's approved, I would love to send some information back to Marketing Cloud, and then which is nothing but I would love to create a multiple campaigns with respect to each channel. And I would love to create a data extension to store all my asset locations, or I can use my content builder APIs to store my content. And I would love to create a data extension to support my list of the countries, all the countries with respect to each content document URLs. Right. So this is a comprehensive kind of a use case where you're sitting in a third-party platform and you would love to access some of the data from Marketing Cloud, or you would love to push the data from the third-party designer platform to Marketing Cloud using a Java SDKs. I don't have a developer, but my developer is really good at Java. And what I can do is I could request him to leverage one of this SDKs, which is Java SDK. And if you look at the Java SDK, so if you look at my, there are a few dependencies are required in order to build an SDK, which is nothing but the pom.xml, a project. Some of the dependencies, this is one of the dependency where you can add this dependency file to your Maven's, or you can add to your GitHub or your Visual Studios as well. So there are some configurations are required specially. So if you download your SDK, you will get this file first. Along with this, you will get this Fuel SDK properties file where you can put all your properties of your Marketing Cloud endpoints and everything, which you can talk to Marketing Cloud. And then you'll have a full documentation available inside this Java Developer SDK. So if you look at the Java SDK latest API, that what it supports, and what are all the respective classes where we could leverage it. If you look at the account, and if you want to retrieve the Marketing Cloud roles, you could just leverage this all roles class. If you want to capture, you can see a list of all the information, that data extensions, create option, create request, create results, data extension fields, and you could look at the deliverability profile, domain types. So there are plenty of classes available where the Java developer can leverage it, and then it can serve the purpose from Marketing Cloud to the third-party systems. But when you look at a high-level support, what Platform SDK does is, if you look at create campaign assets. So this is one of the things where I'm talking about in this diagram, where from the third-party form, so people ask me a question, so funny, we can leverage Cloud Page as well, right? So why don't we design such kind of a page? Or funny, can we leverage some other, because this is a sample form, but trust me, the marketers comes with different kind of options. I don't recommend a Cloud Page to be designed, and then Cloud Page don't have an internal approvals as well. Because if you want to build internal approvals and everything, so the entire tool has been, the entire application you're building it in a third-party system, which includes approvals and everything. Once it get approved from the final stage, then you want to feed all the data into Marketing Cloud, so that you're saving a lot of time. You're saving a lot of time not to, over depend upon different kind of teams like channel managers, partner managers, or marketers, right? Marketing managers. So on a single form where you will get all the details, where the respective teams can start working and building the campaigns on a simple click. They don't see where the assets I can get from. They don't see, how I can get an approval to start building my emails. You don't see all the necessary information in order to start working on Marketing Cloud. A simple form, especially for enterprise-wide companies, because list of the countries, where you look at the list of the countries here, right? There are multiple countries where you have an option to choose. Let's consider Singapore, US, Russia, France, and all this stuff. So for each and every country, so you have some data regulations and privacy has been incorporated, right? For each and every submit for approval, all the 4 forms will fly. The same form will fly to different country managers, different channel managers, where they can approve it. Once it's approved, it'll go and then sit under Marketing Cloud, and it'll assign to the respective developer so that the developer can directly work on it. So this entire process automation is going to be done within one single SDK. And the thing that what it supports is, you can see create campaign, retrieve campaign from Marketing Cloud. Because if you want, your manager wanted to see what are all the retrieve campaign, what are all the campaigns available in Marketing Cloud, that's also can be able to do it inside your SDK. Because it not only provides one way, it provides a two-way integration with your systems. Right. At the same time, you can look at the update campaigns, delete campaigns, create content area, retrieve content area, update content area, delete, and you can see the subscribers to a list, data extension rows, everything, and emails, folder management, list, and subscriber management, data views management. So you can see these many things which you could do and perform using SDKs. If you look at any other area, if you look at content create area, so it'll give you the details about what are all the things that you can leverage it. What is the code that you can use in Ruby on Rails? What is the code you can leverage in PHP, Python, C#, and Java? So for each and everything, for create campaigns, what is the code that, what are all the parameters which you need to leverage for, leveraging PHP, Python, and all this stuff. So it's very simple from a technology standpoint, from a platform standpoint. Every developer can go and then try to leverage these codes to build an application outside of Marketing Cloud and access the Marketing Cloud assets to serve for the customers. All right. So this is one of the example where I personally, I'm one of the project where I build a product, similar product, actually, very similar product. But what I've done, I build a product inside Salesforce. We use an APIs, we use an SDKs to, connect with the Marketing Cloud to Salesforce Sales Cloud. And then we design a platform and we design entire approvals inside the Salesforce platform. And then once its approvals has been done inside Salesforce, then we push the data back to Marketing Cloud. So I'm not saying it's entirely solves the purpose of the automation, but it solves 60% of an automation that what we don't have currently in Marketing Cloud. Let me see if any questions. Where, when you can realize that SDK is needed and not any other ways like API or something. It's a good question, Lakshmi. So I'm coming to that point. So as I said initially, 2 to 3% of teams, if you look at SDK supports similar kind of a thing, like, so the platform SDK is what I'm talking about. I'm not talking about our content builder SDK. I'm talking about these platform SDKs. It only helps you to support these kind of cases where, so fundamentally, when you want to build an application outside of Marketing Cloud, and for doing approvals, for managing all these, right, Lakshmi, I don't recommend to build a lot of APIs. Of course, there are some APIs available where Marketing Cloud team has to be built out, and then that API is a relevant audit extension, and all the APIs are a different story altogether. But fundamentally, when you look at SDKs, so when you want to build an application outside of Marketing Cloud, I think that is the only use case where you can leverage SDKs mostly. And I don't see any other feature where Marketing Cloud can especially leveraging SDKs. If you want to build an application which is vast, and try to do something, something like this, right? Then you can use SDKs. But 97% mostly leveraging APIs only. Because SDKs is the one which provides you the most of the reusable assets. And it provides you, of course, the SDKs works in a fundamental principles of it completely agnostic, works with APIs like REST and SOAP APIs of Marketing Cloud. Although if I want to build a lot of code controllers and everything, but SDKs will give me a lot of flexibility. So I don't need to write the code from start and scratch onwards. It does all my job. You look at the respective job codes, everything that what has been provided. I can just copy, use this code, and then tweak according to my client requirement, and then I could just produce the results. So that's one of the benefit. Apart from this, I don't think so. You can mostly use for SDKs and anywhere. Yeah, mostly APIs are the one which are leveraging that. Yes, similar to managed packages. Yes, Lakshmi, you're absolutely right. So it's similar to the managed package. If you want to build an application, let's take an example this way. All right. If you want to build an application which is outside of Marketing Cloud and which is built on any other platform like Java, C#, Python, and all, you build outside of the application, and you could make it as a package, and then you could install the package in Marketing Cloud. Simple. What is the need of developing the app outside the SFMC when SFMC dev have ability to do? These, if you look at this example, Srikala, right, so you can't build everything like this, right? Because you can't build multiple approvals management. You can't able to build the form management, form approvals management, the campaign designer modules, or I have only one use case, but there are some use cases, especially from the technology perspective. So this is one of the use case where I feel like Marketing Cloud doesn't support it on this. It supports cloud pages and everything, but this is just a sample of 10% that what we built. But we built a page which is like 4 to 5, like if you go to the next, upload assets, upload attachments and everything, you go to the next step. So you have design options, so this is just one page. But if you go to the next page, next and all, so you can build plenty of instructions for designing a campaign for multiple campaigns. You can see the target audience, target channels, like the same campaign, you can leverage it for push notification, SMS, and email as well. So like 3 campaigns ideally. But in Marketing Cloud, if you want to do such kind of a thing, you have to create 3 campaigns with 3 different channels and 3 different clouds, right? You have to go each and every cloud, and then you have to create a campaign. So pretty much, if you want to build something like this, then you have to come out of Marketing Cloud and then do it. That's one of my product. This is one of the products we developed, and then we demonstrated to multiple product teams inside Salesforce, but we couldn't be able to fly due to some other couple of challenges. Yeah, so but this is a great project that we're working on it, actually, that we worked on and we went live. All right, so this is all about Salesforce SDKs, and I would love to talk about a demo. I don't have a demo assets ready, but I have some recording session available where I'm going to play that is. So if any questions on content SDK, and there's one more I would love to talk about. So hope you're aware recently, there is a project that I worked on, not recently exactly, it's been a couple of days back. So the project is, so there is a team, hope you know the clinical trial management, especially on talking about a pharma business, pharma customers, pharma use case. So been using a marketing cloud heavily they're using a marketing cloud for their almost like 54 countries, 54 business units. All right. So this entire marketing cloud has been on the country-wise kind of thing. For each country, they have one business unit and they have one primary BU, which is works with our COE BU, Center of Excellence. So there are 54 BUs for Marketing Cloud, and their entire content management is being sitting under Viva Vault. Viva Vault is a platform that leveraging 99% of every pharma company for their content management. Content management for medical, legal, and regulatory compliance. So they use this platform. Almost all the companies using Viva Vault as a platform for their content management because it has a perfect workflows. Because I worked on Vault, it has a perfect workflows design for each country with respect to each persona. You have a flexibility to design your workflows, and then you can design the respective teams. It's very simple, and this entire Viva has been hosting on AWS. The entire Vault platform is hosting on AWS. Now the biggest question is, Marketing Cloud, you need to build an email templates, right? But the content, you have to get it from once MLR approved, once medical, legal, regulatory team has been applied the content, then only you have to use the content inside email templates, and then you have to use a template for each and every country, and then you have to send an email outside of a Marketing Cloud. Ideally, email is just an approved email, okay? When we're calling it an approved email in Viva typical terms. So now the current situation, what we initially faced is, so they have system ready. Their entire team of COE is leveraging the approved templates and sending an email. What they're currently doing is, from this, they have 54 countries, and they have like plenty of templates. If you look at, they have too many templates of email templates and all this stuff. And once MLR approved the template, so this template is ready for use for any campaign. So what they do is, so there's a person inside the marketing team had an access to the Vault platform. And what she or he is doing is to simply download the assets of HTML or CSS or whatever the templates, the email template design and everything. So she or he is a person downloading assets. And then what they're doing is they're just uploading the assets into Marketing Cloud. Uploading assets into SFMC, right? So this uploading assets into SFMC to the email templates for every country. So we have a folder for every country. So within the folder, they have one more folder called brand-wise assets. All right, so this is what they have currently. They're doing it manual stuff. So from here to here, so ideally from this stage, so there's a fundamental problems happens between while downloading an assets, because there's a person downloaded assets and it took for entire flow for minimum to 10 days. And while this approval had took it 10 days, and after that, this person took another day to review the assets, and then trying to upload into the Marketing Cloud. All right. So when look at this kind of an operation, so potentially I come to a picture and then I've tried to look at the possible options to automate the entire solution of content directly producing the approved email templates or approved content back to Marketing Cloud. So there's an option we have from Viva Vault to Marketing Cloud, Viva Vault to Marketing Cloud. So here, so there is no direct connector. There is no direct connection. There's no direct connection available. There's no direct connection. Till now, there's no direct connection between Viva Vault to Marketing Cloud, right? So what we have built is, it feels like, okay, there's no direct connector available. And then, so we come up with an option, which is MuleSoft. Let's leverage a Mule platform to connect with Viva Vault system, and then connecting the same data back to Marketing Cloud. And then we're gonna put that into Marketing Cloud from Viva Vault platform. So fundamentally, we've leveraged one more option. Mule is a little cost for a customer who is small. Of course, it's an enterprise company, but Mule is not the preferred platform they've gone for. And I had an idea where we went ahead and then we built a complete content builder SDK. So we use a content builder SDK. Use a content builder SDK that supports these Viva Vault platform, because Viva Vault has an APIs which can be leveraged. So what we've done is we've leveraged a content builder SDK to bring the approved content from Viva Vault system to Marketing Cloud, and then store the same data back to the respective country location. For every country, we have a folder, so we can, once it's approved, done, it immediately go and then trigger a content builder SDK API from Marketing Cloud, and then it will go and then sit under it will go and sit under the respective country data extension. So this is what we have done for one of the customer, and using a content builder SDK. And this SDK is an official of Salesforce Marketing Cloud, but I would love to play a video which talk about the complete orchestration about how the SDK works and what is the fundamental architecture, along with what else we can do inside using Marketing Cloud SDK supported by Marketing Cloud, Content Builder SDK, and we can talk about some open source demonstration as well. But any question on this? Anyone has any questions? So this is one of the best use cases where if you want to talk about or would love to explain to one of your interviewer, so probably can talk about what is the use case for Content Builder SDKs or APIs, and what privilege, what kind of operation that you guys done for making a better results from a customer standpoint to a consulting standpoint. Any questions? Okay, I hope you understand the one which I've told, right? If let me know if any questions, or else I'll happy to review once again. Yeah. How complex this could be? This is not going to be complex. It's not going to be complex, Lakshmi. So this is, I mean, thinking and think through the solutions is a complex, but once you understand the platform solution, then it's so easy for you, because the SDK serves a purpose to connect with the Viva Vault system and then bring the data from Vault to Marketing Cloud. No, Akash, no cost associated around using these SDKs. It's a free of cost. Every complex of any system, what I understand, Lakshmi, it's all depend upon the think through process, how we design the process. At the same time, how the same asset can be reusable for other systems if you want to leverage it. And we should always focus and think through about it, the cost and the implications towards the maintenance as well. But this entire thing is very easy, which is zero maintenance cost. And it's a zero development, some sort of development cost is it, but maintainability and operations is very easy. Sure. So this is Vault platform, Lakshmi. Vault, as I said, Vault is a platform where all the 99% of pharma companies leveraging for their content management system, which is hosting on AWS. And Vault is a platform for every pharma business to design the content and then upload the content from different teams, medical, legal, and regulatory. We use this connecting of Vault to Marketing Cloud using a content builder SDK, because the content sits in Vault platform. So we don't have any other direct APIs available to connect with Marketing Cloud, unless if you expose any webhooks or anything. And the same thing Vault system has to support as well. But what we've done is we tried using a MuleSoft. MuleSoft is a platform, an open API-led connectivity platform that you can design a lot of webhooks, and then it could connect to any system, including an on-prem system, virtual systems, or any other systems. And so Mule we tried, and we couldn't be able to bear the cost of the Mule, and we go on another approach. So the time we have the content builder SDK available, with the ready-made controllers, ready-made APIs available to connect with Vault system to Marketing Cloud, and that serves the purpose of sending whenever involved system an approved content as approved by legal complaints team. Immediately we are triggering, because we already we know the respective Vault design, Vault controller code. Once it's approved, so immediately we're gonna hit the API through a content builder SDK, and then we're gonna send the data to Marketing Cloud under the respective country-wise location. All right. Okay, so I'll go and start the demo of the Marketing Cloud. So I'm just go and then start it. I'll just open that recording once. So we'll go through it.
Is the Marketing Cloud SDK, the Content Block SDK. So this is a way for services teams.
So let me share my screen as well. So this is something that. Yes, Romila, we're using Content Builder SDK instead of MuleSoft. Mule is so costly. So with this one single approach, they can't be able to bear the cost of MuleSoft. So we just use a Content Builder SDK for that. Let me know once you're able to see.
And customers and partners to build their own blocks for our email editor. And so this is, we have 3 ISV launch partners that are part of this, Movable Ink, Live Clicker, and Pixley, and they are working on blocks that will be available soon. And
what we call the content block is the piece of HTML content that we put in the email inside a slot, and that is then sent. So the content block is what lives with the email and is what is sent to a subscriber. On the other side, the experience that lets a marketer edit that content block is called the block widget. And when we say custom blocks, we mean custom block widgets that then allow marketers to create content blocks with it. So this diagram shows what the block SDK actually provides. The block SDK lets a custom block widget communicate with the editor, as opposed to a lot of SDKs that are wrapping around API calls, REST calls, SOAP calls, etc. The block SDK actually wraps around cross-document messaging, which means the SDK lets a piece of UI in your browser talk to the editor UI in your browser as well without going server-side. So it's very quick, and that's what we can do as you type real-time interactions. The block widget is built by third parties, partners, customers, etc., and is hosted separately. It's hosted on its own app, and it can make its own API calls to a third-party app, third-party API. But also, if that's app that's hosting the block.
So if you look at team, right? So the one which you talked about, even Lakshmi asking me a question. So what else we can do, apart from leveraging APIs rather than SDKs, right? So Lakshmi, the one which the same thing what we build a third-party app in different system altogether. And then from the app, we are just posting all the campaign designs, everything. And then, so the block SDK or Salesforce Marketing Cloud SDKs, we're leveraging those to bring the relevant information back to Marketing Cloud.
Block widgets is a Marketing Cloud app exchange app. It could also make API calls to the Marketing Cloud, but none of that is managed by the Block SDK. That is managed by the other SDKs or direct REST calls to the Marketing Cloud API. So the Block SDK is really about talking to the editor and then saving that a block, sending that block, etc. That's at the discretion of the user on the Marketing Cloud side. So we're going to go through a series of resources that we offer to help out developing custom block widgets. The first one is the actual SDK. So we have the SDK in two formats. We have a node module that you can install through NPM, or we have a GitHub repo with all the actual code. Let's go to that really quick. And in that repository, you have a little installation instruction. It's pretty straightforward. You can pull it as a tag, or you can install it through NPM. What it really provides is a set of 5 methods. I'm going to go through them really quick. They're pretty straightforward. Obviously, you want to set the HTML content of that block. So we have a method called setContent. When you call setContent, you pass it a string, and that's going to be the HTML for this block. It is whitelisted against a series of secure tags and attributes to prevent malicious code from making it into the email. But otherwise, it's a pass-through. And then we have getContent, which allows you to get the current content of that block as well. We also offer a custom property bag that we call data. So you can set some data or get some data. That data lives in a JSON format with the block and is persisted with the block or the email. So if the user saves the email and later opens it up, your block gets invoked. You can re-access the data you had saved for that block in that email. And then we have an additional attribute that is worth mentioning, which is super content. When you develop custom blocks, you'll often find that you may have custom scripting. You could use, for instance, mscript or have conditional expressions in there that are for send time. So at send time, you would think if the customer has this attribute, send that, otherwise send this, which doesn't look very good. So instead, you may want to show something like an example of what it would look like, which is what super content is about. So when you want to set content and that content is not good to look at, you can also set super content to display that instead. And we'll see an example in a bit. So now, going back to the architecture really quick, the block widget that you are building, the custom block, is in its simplest form just an HTML page that invokes the block SDK. So when you develop locally, you may want to quickly check if your HTML page has instantiated the SDK properly, if what you want to do with it works, etc., without having to provision that into the editor and create an email and go through the a bit more advanced process of testing that on prod. So we offer this little Heroku app called blocktester.herokuapp.com. It's actually very secure. Don't believe this. This is because we want to test against localhost. So we have to simplify the security settings there. But the concept of this is on the left side, very much like on the left side of the editor, we're going to iframe any block URL that you want. And then it's going to show you the result that it would show in the editor on the right side. So in here, I'm going to use the same block that Don demoed, the Quill.js block. And if I click here, it shows me the Quill.js block. And as I type, it updates the content of this block. And then I can try another block and I can see what two blocks can do in parallel. I go back to the first one, it loads its content, etc. It also shows you what would happen when you do get data and set data. So it's a little dev environment accelerator for building blocks. So now that we've seen those two tools, let's go ahead and actually build an actual block and try and see if we can, build it, use it in the editor, etc. The concept for this block is Google Maps. We have a limitation in emails that we can only have images. We cannot have an iframe or some kind of JavaScript that would show Google Map, for instance. So in this case, the idea is we're going to use the Google API to generate some image that represents a map and show that in an email. So let's get started here. I'm going to make a directory called TDX SDK block. And I'm going to create an npm vanilla repo. There we go. And I'm going to install just three things. One is obviously the block SDK, because that's what we need to talk to the editor. I'm going to install Lightning Design Systems because I want to have my block look good and look consistent with the rest of the editor and the rest of the Salesforce ecosystem. And I'm also going to install Express, which is just a simple web server, because in that case, I'm just going to statically serve my block. So I said Express, block SDK, and the design system. So it's installing this. Wasn't too long. Okay, now let's go to an editor and take a look at what we've got. So we've got an SDK block here with the node modules installed and a package JSON. Now I'm going to copy over very few files there that are the UI for the block. That obviously I'm not going to code an entire UI in 10 minutes. So let's copy over a server file, and that's the most basic Express, let's just serve the static content file. And then let's copy over as well a simple set of two icons that are used by the editor to display the block that you can drag and drop into a slot in the editing experience, and an index file and a JS file. So let's really quickly go through the index file. Looks very complicated, but really it is a straightforward copy paste from the Lightning Design System page, a few fields, a few sliders. I'm copy pasting that into my HTML file. And then really the magic happens in the main file. And we're going to go through that really quick, where the actual code starts. So what this main file is doing here is it's getting the SDK, it's instantiating it. Then it's adding a few classic UI functionality, a debounce function, so that it doesn't set the content every second or every hundredth of a second. Actually, it sets it every half a second. The ability to paint the settings in the UI, the ability to generate that actual map image, all of that's relatively straightforward. And then when the block opens up, so when the editor decides that your block is needed and iframes it inside the left side, it does a get data. So it gets the data of the block. If there is no data yet, it gets nothing and it knows it's a new block. If there is data already, it knows there's a block already saved in there. So it sets the address, the width and height of the image, the zoom level and the link for it, and then paints everything. And then additionally, we add an event listener, which is when any of those settings change, we want to redraw the image and save all the information. So if the function paint slider value, which is then paints the map, I have set content and set data that are called. I'm setting the content, which we're going to see in a moment, and I'm setting the actual data so I can save this information. Note that it's a bit redundant. If you set the content, you already have all those attributes handy. It's just much simpler to read it from like a JSON object where it's all structured properly than having to pass your HTML back and forth. So I definitely recommend using data rather than content as your store there. So now that we have that, let's see. So I'm in my block. Let's start this. And I'm going to use the block tester app to see what it looks like. Oh, actually, let me refresh that because we have data already in these blocks that would probably not play nice. All right, and it works. So now I have this is pretty much the HTML and the JavaScript file that I just described. So we have a Google Maps block with a few sliders to do image width, image height, etc., and a location. I don't render before there is a location because I don't really know what arbitrary location I would put here. But let's do Moscone West. And here we have an image generated on the side. So as I type, the block is calling set content with this new image that it generates. And I can change some attributes like the height. Actually, let's make it fit. Here we go, the width. And I can optionally put a link wrap to have the image redirect somewhere. So now that we've tested that locally it works, the next step in actually having a block is to host it somewhere that's publicly accessible. Right now it's on localhost. So really the quickest way to get something up and running would be to just start something on Heroku. I'm going to create a new app in my personal accounts. Let's call it TDX Block SDK and create. I'm not paid by Heroku to say this, but really the offering a GitHub repo there that you just push to and it deploys makes it ridiculously convenient for simple code bases like a custom block. So in here, I'm going to get my Git URL and going back to my terminal. Now that I see it works locally, I'm just going to start making it a Git repo, adding my Heroku remote, and then adding everything. Okay, committing everything. Initial commits. And then pushing to Heroku, which will trigger a release. Should take only a few seconds. And now that it's up on Heroku, almost, I can go and get the actual URL for my app. Here we go. So it hasn't deployed yet. Now it's deployed. And within a few seconds, here we go. Okay, so it doesn't look like much because it's not meant to display in this environment. But if I'm copying this URL and trying it in the block tester, in here, I should have virtually the same experience. So I'm going to leave my old block on the left and edit the right one. And here we go. And now I can do maybe Salesforce Tower. Here we go. So it's really the same experience, but this time it's actually on Heroku, right? So now that I have this new block that I made up and running on Heroku, seems to be working in the block tester. The next step is what does it look like in the actual Marketing Cloud editor? I'm going to let Don come and provision the editor with that block and test it.
Thanks, Thomas. So yeah, so now we want to use this block actually in the Marketing Cloud. And the way we do that, there's a couple ways that the blocks get deployed. If it's a partner, an ISV partner that builds a block that they want to distribute and sell, it goes through the App Exchange. The App Exchange process will ultimately put the block in a package here. So we have this concept of installed packages in the Marketing Cloud. And so I've already created a custom blocks package, and that's where that Quill block that I showed earlier is sitting. And so I want to add the package that or the block that Thomas just created. So I add a component here. We see we have a few types, and I want a custom content block. And so all I need to do is give it a title, call it a Google map, and put in the URL of the Heroku app that Thomas just created. And pretty simple, it's there now. And so if I go back to my email that I was showing earlier, I'll exit and refresh the page to get that loaded. Okay. Just another second, and I open that email again. And we should see our Google Maps block in here, and it's there. And so just like Thomas was showing in the test app, I drop it into an editable part of my email, and I see this block there. I enter a place. You can enter, it's Google Maps, so you can enter an actual address, a landmark name. I'm going to put in Salesforce Tower, Indianapolis, which is where I work. And it's showing me a map of Indianapolis with the Salesforce Tower in there. So with that, I'll turn it over to Sanjay.
Thanks, Don. I'll have to move this a little bit. Plug in my stuff. Thank you very much. Give me just 1 minute, folks. All right. Peek at some of the early thinking that we are doing to make it easy for developers and ISVs to get started writing apps for the Marketing Cloud. I don't have any slides. That's my only slide. So what I'm going to do is basically switch over to the demo. Okay. So what you see in front of you is a prototype of an early prototype of a get started experience, right? I'm going to show you two scenarios. The first is targeted at if you're a developer with an existing Marketing Cloud account, what would you do? How would you start? And the second is, imagine if you will, that you don't have a Marketing Cloud account and you simply want to try stuff. What would you do then, right? So go with my story here. So imagine you have an existing Marketing Cloud account, you have a client ID and secret that's been pre-provisioned for you, and you're a Java developer who happens to use the Mac OS, right? So that's the demo I'll go do. I'll click Java Mac OS, and what comes in front of you is a 3-step process, right? I mean, the first step essentially says, hey, here's how you go set up your environment. Now, since you're a Java developer on the Mac OS, chances are you probably use Homebrew. So these steps walk you through installing Brew itself, installing Java with Brew, and installing Maven. I mean, most Java folks use Apache Maven to create projects and build projects, right? So one time, you're going to have to set your environment just once. To save time for this demo, I've already done this on my MacBook, right? So you won't have to do this again. So I can go to step 2. Now, step 2 walks you through essentially the steps to create a Maven project and add a reference to the Marketing Cloud Java SDKs. Now, Marketing Cloud has SDKs in 6 languages. Java is one of them. C# is another, and so on and so forth. So what I'll do is, I mean, I don't want to type all of this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hover over this terminal window, hit copy, open up a terminal window on my Mac. Hope you can see that. You can make it a little bit bigger. And I'm going to hit paste. Right, so that's the Maven command, standard Maven command to create an empty archetype. So what Maven's doing is it's creating an empty Java project. It's going to have a pom.xml there and an empty app.java. So at this point, I have an empty Maven project created, ready for me to go. I'll try and change directories to that. So that's my project that just got created. Cool. Now what do I do next? The next order of business is to go add a reference to the Marketing Cloud Java SDK. So Maven has this notion of a pom.xml. Essentially, it's a project file. And these lines here add a dependency to the Java SDK, Marketing Cloud Java SDK. Like before, I'm going to hit copy. But before I do that, I can actually go and open up my project in my favorite editor. Any editor would do. So I'm going to open my Java project like so. And I have my super duper pom.xml. There's nothing much there. So I'm going to go get rid of it. And I'll paste over what I copied from the get started guide. Let's save. Sure, go compile your dependencies. So now I have an empty Java project with an empty app.java, if you will. but the pom.xml has a reference to the Marketing Cloud SDK. Okay, what next? I'm ready to write my Java app, my first Java app. So I can go to step 3. And step 3 essentially says, hey, you're an existing Marketing Cloud customer, so you're going to need this API secret, client ID and client secret. And the app itself is very, very simple. The app essentially uses the API key to connect to Marketing Cloud and say, great, I connected, right? So like before, I'm going to go ahead, copy, go back to my editor, open app.java. There's nothing there, as you can see. I'm going to get rid of this guy and hit paste. So simple app. I still have to replace these with mine, right? So I've actually set up a client ID and secret locally on my MacBook. So I'm simply going to copy that over and replace that. So now I'm going to read this app.java will read the client ID and secret from my local MacBook environment variables. Cool. I'm ready to compile the app. Okay, how do I do that? Go back to the getting started and 2 commands, essentially one to compile, one to run. So the first one, I'll simply copy the mvn clean package, go back to my handy dandy terminal, hit paste, and now it's compiling. Right, so just in a few minutes, the getting started experience tutorial essentially walk you through 2 steps. Right? Time to run it. Let me go run it. I'll hit copy here and hit paste there. And now it's actually running it, right? So again, simple demo. It's connecting to the Marketing Cloud now. Hopefully it will connect, and it printed that all done message. Right? So from start to finish in less than what, a minute, maybe 2 minutes, right? Copy, paste. Now, the thing we are doing with, we have examples of a slightly more complex app as well, which creates an email, sends the email via triggered send, check status, and that kind of thing. So the point here, the goal here in showing you this was it's an early prototype, and we actually are looking for feedback, right? On whether you like what you see, you don't like what you see, how can we go improve, what other ideas we can go incorporate. So, all feedback is welcome. So now that was the first scenario. I'll quickly show you the second scenario as well. I'll head back to my home page. And this scenario targets folks or developers who do not have a Marketing Cloud account, right? So how would they try out or look at, examples of a Java app, for example? So I'd like to introduce the notion of what we've been toying with, something that we call an SDK playground. So I'll show you the Java SDK playground. Looks very, very similar to the example that I showed you before. However, think of the Marketing Cloud SDK playground as your dev environment in the cloud for Marketing Cloud, right? So it uses pre-provisioned accounts. It uses a pre-provisioned API key and secret. What it does is it enables you to try out your app in various languages right within the browser. You don't need to install anything now, right? So what I'm going to show you is I'll run the same commands that I ran before in the terminal, but this time I'm going to simply click run command to run that same Maven create project command in the playground. So let me go do that. So that command's actually running Maven in the playground. It will create an empty project shortly. Give it just 1 second. So the playground itself runs on Heroku. So it's hosted on Heroku, what the prototype is. And then in the coming months, we'll actually solidify it up and productize it based on your feedback, tweaks and stuff. So come on. And given it's a free dyno, it takes a little bit of time. Step 2. Step 2, same app as before. But if you notice, I'm actually not giving it any API key or secret because the Java code I have here, the snippet I have here simply picks up the API key and secret from the playground, right? In which case, when I click compile and run Java app, what the playground does is it takes this app.java and it copies it over to the Maven project. And it runs Maven, the 2 commands I showed you before to compile the Java app, the Maven project, and run it. So it's actually compiling now. After it compiles, it shall run in a moment. Give me just 1 second. bear with me, it's a prototype. And rotate on those API keys, right? So there's been a long-standing ask from customers for a developer edition of Marketing Cloud. Now, it is certainly on our future long-term roadmap, but it's going to take us some time to get there. So the playground, the SDK playground, is essentially an attempt at a baby step for us to get there to achieve the same scenario, right? So that's the premise behind the playground. So as you can see, Maven compiled successfully. There's not much to compile. It's actually running it now. And the output will be the same as it's the same app. So it's going to simply try and connect to Marketing Cloud using those pre-provisioned API keys and essentially print a hello world. The difference is it's the playground running in Heroku that's connecting to Marketing Cloud versus the app that I ran earlier locally on my laptop that was connecting to Marketing. So different ways of connecting. The way to connect again is standard API calls, very well documented. So there's no surprises here. So yeah, there it is. It ran, it said I connected and exited the playground. We have an example of an advanced app as well, just for kicks. And this app actually does something more end-to-end. Essentially, first I'll prove I'm not a robot. Captcha check, and I'll give it an email. And what this app does, the simple app does, is it again gets the client ID and secret from the playground. It replaces this variable with the email address that I just entered. And then it creates an ET configuration, it creates an ET client, an ET email, then it creates an ET triggered send, right? All of these are Java classes available in our Java SDK. And then it uses the triggered send to send the email. And finally, it catches the right exceptions. So the other advantage of this thing is it encourages best practices, right? Hey, here's how you catch the exception. Here's the exception you catch. Here's how you handle it. If you want to go retry, it helps us encourage those kind of best practices. It sends the email, and finally, it says it reports status. So it uses a method in the Java SDK to go report status. So I'll go run this. It'll take a little bit of time, but the point is you can run a simple app, you can run a Java app. Imagine, if you will, that someday in the future, this console window, this text editor window is somewhere you could type, right? Kind of like in Heroku, right? So, I mean, those are some of the ideas we are toying with. So it'll go do its thing. The point of this playground, or the point of this thing, is it addresses both sets of customers who have an existing Marketing Cloud account, who have an API key, they can copy, paste, get started, tweak. And this is for customers who don't have a Marketing Cloud account and want to try it out, right? You can imagine a similar set of playgrounds for C#, for Node.js, for Java, right? I mean, and then on the first scenario, we are actually talking to the Trailhead folks, where we could turn all of those copy, paste, type into your terminal kinds of examples into Trailhead modules. So, I mean, go copy, paste, create a Maven project, 100 points, and so on and so forth, right? So it becomes an educational tool as well and helps people get started. Okay.
All right. So if you could see the same examples, right? Like, so the one which you have talked about, or the one which you have, what we have explained in terms of two kind of scenarios. So the one scenario that what our team has been explained, or the recording team has been explained is, so let me share my screen again so that we can summarize at what we have to explain, especially on this. So we look at, the one which is a content builder SDK, where, the person has been developed an application, and then the application has been hosting in Heroku. But in our scenario, we hosted in AWS, which is nothing, you can host in anywhere, which provides, the perfect examples for us to hosting. And we hosting it in AWS and the person hosting in Heroku. So the same thing, we have just developed an application, and then we were developing, leveraging our own, the content builder SDK, and then we use that as a package, and then we can install the package. And then once I install the package, and then we could use the same blocks directly into your email templates. So at the same time, this entire application also the same thing, is a real time, where we can build an application and then we could submit. After all the submissions, this data will go to the Marketing Cloud, and then that serves a job for the customer, that what they're looking for. The second example that what they've talked about is the different kind of a platform SDKs, that how we could leverage it for the reusable assets and the code, where it's so simple for different steps. You don't need to build the code from scratch, and then you could just leverage it and then build your own applications. And then it could use application directly back to your marketing cloud with different kind of packages. So essentially, the fundamentally that what I would love to talk about is that it's a kind of an awareness where how we could leverage an SDKs in typical marketing cloud. And what are all the typical use cases that what we talk about? This is one of the use case, and this is one of the use case, especially for and what kind of marketing cloud SDKs, which definitely can helpful for your future. When I mean, not now, maybe in some sort of an area where you definitely need the support of SDK that could serve the job for your customers or for yourself. And yeah, pretty much that's it from my side on today's session on SDKs. And if any questions, and I'll happy to help you out. And predominantly what will happen is the Heroku playgrounds that what the team has been showing it. So those are all expired. As you're already aware of it, the Heroku free dinos or the free playgrounds, everything has been gone. For students, if Heroku has some discounts, but for other enterprise customers or anyone, if you want to deploy any app in Heroku, so you have to purchase an account for Heroku, and then you have to leverage it. So that's all from myself today. And any questions, I'll happy to help you out. Looking forward for any questions. I hope you understand the session. I mean, this is something that we normally use on a day-to-day basis, but for this something that, as I told, when the time comes, so when the requirement comes, this is something that we should definitely overlook about it, and then we should gain some knowledge and observe the things that what the other people have been done, and then trying to do ourselves as well. All right. Thank you again. And we have a next session on next Tuesday, Wednesday. We have data cloud. We have session 1 on Tuesday, segmentation and activation, packaging and data kits. So we have 2 topics, Tuesday and Wednesday. I'm going to demonstrate 2 topics again. And we do have a great topics for marketing cloud, one with how to build a custom journey builder activities. We are a real-time demo. So we build some Viber, WeChat, WhatsApp, kind of hooks, webhooks, and we'll showcase how we designed that inside marketing cloud using custom journey builder activities. And the other one we can talk about, we have a AMA session on development areas. And after that, all mobile studio and ad studio, right? So anything that, thank you, funding greets. Thank you, Gracia. Thanks for joining from Argentina. Thank you. Recording which I have showed. Sure, Tricolour. I'll just paste now. I'll paste now, so you can just use it.
Monzo.com makes dance great again. Yeah.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining with us today. So let's catch up on next week. And we have some data cloud sessions on Tuesday, Wednesday, and rest of all, marketing cloud bootcamp. Thank you. Have a great day and happy weekend. Thank you for joining once again.